You're in the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
So they say 2 times a charm, 3 times a charm. Let me tell you, what you're hearing now is the second cut or version of the introduction to this week's episode of the Paracast with Gene Steinberg and Chris O'Brien. And the reason you're hearing it this way and not the original way is not because we didn't think the original discussion was good. We thought it was a great discussion. The fact is that something strange happened to the recording. Chris's voice could not be heard.
Yep. I guess the universe is editing me.
Well, you're trying to be a trickster.
No, I don't have to try. It kind of comes with my territory, I guess, or something.
So what do you think? 2011, this is our first show for 2012. What do you think were the most important developments, if any, in the field of paranormal research? It could be UFOs. It could be other paranormal phenomena. It could even be cryptozoology. What do you think? Any really big developments?
Surprisingly, actually, Gene, nothing really springs to mind. I think some of the UFO activity in, the Kansas City, sort of St. Louis areas is notable. We've had quite a bit of activity there, and also seems California is kind of leading the nation with sighting events, and I think that's also interesting that you should have a place like the Kansas area, right in the center of the country, experiencing such high levels of sighting activity. Of course, maybe our tax dollars at work are play, but I think it's going to be interesting to see how the sighting events unfold over this coming year, and whether we do see return to some of the levels of activity in the Rocky Mountains, which I think have been fairly quiet. And normally the Rockies tend to sort of lead the way in sighting activity, but not in 2011. So I guess we'll have to kind of wait and see. And also, I think the 2012 Mayan calendar furor is going to make some interesting copy here in the coming year, but we'll have to reserve judgment on that. Maybe get a couple of shows talking about the folly that the media is perpetrating on everybody concerning this upcoming winter solstice in a year. But it's going to get a lot more interesting before it gets any more dull, Gene.
I want to ask you about that. Okay, the folly the media is responsible for about 2012 in the Mayan calendar. How about the Reader's Digest version? And we'll discuss this in more detail in future shows.
Well, again, it's like freaking out because you remember how our cars used to have analog odometers, and they click over at like 999 or 99,000. They click over back to zero. Well, that's basically what's going on with 3 of the Mayan calendars. There's about 60 calendars, 19 important calendars that the Maya devised, and the long count calendar, which is a 26,000-year cycle, is clicking over, and that's the indication that our solar system has gone completely around the galaxy. And there's the Katun and the Baktun, which is a 52-year cycle, and I think a 3,200-year cycle. These are all ending. These cycles are ending and going into a whole new cycle. The way the media makes it sound, there's one Mayan calendar and it ends, and that's like saying our calendar ends. And calendars don't end; they just cycle through. And this is an important time period. I think the Maya did recognize that. Whether we're going to have to move above 4,000 feet or 4,500 feet, as some people are saying, or whether the world's going to have calamitous, really nasty events occur, that remains to be seen. It wouldn't surprise me the way things are going, but I think the media is doing the whole subject a disservice by promoting this whole kind of doom and gloom scenario that I don't think is accurate.
Well, what makes things more difficult here is the fact that once something gets started in the media, the meme of the month, it's very difficult, sometimes impossible, to change things.
Yeah, and people are so inured by their televisions that they don't take the time to do their own research and get the facts. I mean, I was watching the History Channel, I think about 4 or 5 years ago, and you'd think the History Channel would get basic facts right. They made the statement that the Maya who went extinct in the 1300s. It's like, they don't mention that the Maya are the largest group of indigenous Americans. There's like 3.5 or 4 million Maya, I think at last count. And they made it sound like the Maya are an extinct people.
How do they react to this, being told they're extinct?
Well, Don Alejandro, who is one of the real Guatemalan timekeepers, he's the real deal. He came to Sedona and spoke a couple of years back, and I just out of curiosity, I went to the event, and he got up there, and he was really funny through an interpreter. He says, you white boys think you've got the whole Mayan thing all figured out, and you don't have a clue. He said this whole, end of these cycles in the Mayan calendars, it's not a particular date when anything's going to happen. It could happen right now. It could happen in 5 minutes. It could happen tomorrow, next week. We're in that time period where significant change is going to occur on the planet. You just have to be ready for it. And he said something very cryptic to me, which sounded cryptic to me, and it's also echoed by the Hopi, who have a very similar admonishment to people, and that is, if one day you wake up and the sun doesn't come up, lock your doors, shut your curtains, lock your windows, and no matter who comes to your door, do not open it. And I found that very interesting, that the Maya and the Hopi, and in this case 2 elders from these particular cultures, are echoing each other and saying that virtually the same exact thing. I find that very interesting.
Well, it's kind of a fatalistic kind of thing. Like, if the world is going to end, well, it's over. Just make your plans if you're still around to see the final stages of it.
I guess. I'm the eternal optimist, so I'm helping fill the glass. Forget the half empty, half full stuff. The glass will be full, and I prefer, if I have to buy into a scenario, either doom or gloom or transformation, I'm helping transform myself and everybody else already. So,
speaking of transformation, we have a transformative guest this week. Returning to our show, Rosemary Ellen Guiley. What does she have for us this time?
Well, Rosemary is one of my favorite investigators in the field. She's a prolific author. She's written over 50 books, including 6 encyclopedias. I had the distinct pleasure and honor of having her accompany me on a trip to the San Luis Valley in the spring. She is a top-notch professional in the field. I learned a lot from her. Her latest book is called Rosemary Ellen Guiley's Pocket Dream Dictionary, and we're going to have a lot of fun talking about dream interpretation. There's over 600 terms in her dictionary. She's already written several books on dreams, and was a board, I think a board member, one of the board of directors of an association of dream investigators. Or she'll tell us about that. I'm not sure what the actual organization's name is, but she is one of my favorite people in the field. She's really grounded, has helped many, many people who have had tremendously life-changing experiences related to the paranormal, and this is really going to be a fascinating talk.
Definitely, when it gets down to dreams, it's something that I haven't really thought much about. I mean, involved in paranormal research, involved in reading about this stuff, but I haven't really looked at my own dreams to see whether the ones that seem to occur over and over have any specific meaning. And, maybe I'll think about it real carefully, whether I should disclose any of those dreams in the course of the show. It doesn't mean I've had some really oddball paranormal experiences or that anything I say should be taken as more than just an anecdote here and there, but I might present a few. Do you think you're going to handle it? Can you handle the truth?
Well, this will be interesting, Gene. You're pretty close to the vest with a lot of things. It'll be interesting to hear what you have to say about your dream life.
My vest? Yeah, let me look at my vest. No, I'm not wearing my vest today. All right. For our first show of 2012, we have Rosemary Ellen Guiley. Coming up next on
The Paracast.
As you know, the Paracast is brought to you by Audible.com, the Internet's leading provider of audiobooks with more than 85,000 downloadable titles across all types of literature, featuring audio versions of many New York Times bestsellers. For our listeners, Audible is offering a free audiobook to give you a chance to try out their service, such as Steve Jobs, the best-selling authorized biography from Walter Isaacson. For that free audiobook, go to audiblepodcast.com/Paracast. That's audiblepodcast.com/Paracast. So here's what happened. I was placing an order online. The site went down. It just stopped responding. It took hours before it returned, but I'd already placed the order with another company. If your site goes down, you could lose business. And if you have a business or personal site, you'll want to know it's easy to run and it will stay online. At iWeb, your site is hosted on one of the most reliable networks in the world. Check it out. iWeb.com. That's iWeb.com.
On the average, Americans work between 45 to 50 years, hoping to build up enough wealth to retire and live out their golden years. Unfortunately, with taxation, the rising cost of food, energy, housing, and medical, many retirees are forced to live below the poverty line. Is this a flaw of free enterprise, or is our monetary unit we call the Federal Reserve Note forcing us into perpetual debt, ensuring inflation and higher taxes? These questions and more can be answered by reading G. Edward Griffin's book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. Congressman Ron Paul states it's what every American needs to know about central bank power. A gripping adventure into the secret world of international banking cartel. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. I will give a silver dollar from the early 1900s to anyone who purchases this book. Call 1-800-686-2237 and order a copy today. It's critical that the public be made aware of the system. Call and order your copy today at 1-800-686-2237. That's 1-800-686-2237.
Jason Lewis here with the holidays just around the corner. Be sure to consider the greatest gift you can give to your friends and family. Peace of mind. That's why I choose WiseFoodStorage.com. WiseFoodStorage.com offers delicious ready-made meals like cheesy lasagna, savory stroganoff, and pasta Alfredo that are packaged for freshness in individual metal Mylar pouches and carry a 25-year shelf life. And they're ready to eat in minutes. Simply add hot water. Request a free entree sample today at WiseFoodStorage.com. And for a limited time, get free shipping and 10% off of your order. That's right, a free entree, free shipping, and 10% off any order. Just use promo code Lewis. Call 855-FoodWise. That's 855-366-3947. Or visit WiseFoodStorage.com. That's Wise, W-I-S-E, foodstorage.com. Gourmet emergency food at the best price and the greatest gift you can give to the ones you love this holiday season.
Fight back this cold and flu season with the world's best garlic extract, Ali C. Why Ali C? Because it helps your body fight viruses, bacteria, and fungi. Ali C has been scientifically proven in double-blind studies using low doses to greatly reduce the number, severity, and duration of common colds. Ali C contains 300 milligrams of stabilized allicin, the active ingredient in crushed garlic. Studies show Ali C is effective against MRSA, bacterial, fungal, and viral infections. One tablet of Ali C has the equivalent of 40 cloves of garlic. Ali C supports your body's resistance to all types of conditions and can help lower high blood pressure and high cholesterol. So boost your body's resistance to infection with nature's best garlic extract, Ali C. For more information and to order Ali C, call 877-888-7126 or go to garlichealthproducts.com. That's 1-877-888-7126 or go to garlichealthproducts.com for your Ali C today.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And if you'd like to catch up on past episodes, we have hundreds of shows for you to download direct from theparacast.com. That's theparacast.com. Or check us out at iTunes.
Back with the Paracast is Rosemary Ellen Guiley. It says on her website, visionaryliving.com, at the crossroads of time, space, and infinity, which kind of mirrors what we're doing at the Paracast, trying to find the signal with all that noise. You're listening to Gene and Chris. Rosemary, welcome back. So glad to have you again.
Well, thank you, Jean and Chris. I'm delighted to be back on the Paracast. It's a great show, and I know we're going to talk about some very interesting topics tonight.
Well, one of the things that Chris was mentioning, you have a new book on dream interpretation. Give me the basics here.
I've been fascinated by the big meaning of dreams my entire life, and I have kept a dream journal. I've written several books on understanding your dreams, especially from a spiritual perspective. Our dreams tell us about our concerns and our emotions and how we feel we're doing in life. They reflect back a lot of our concerns about what we're dealing with in waking life, but they also have a bigger component. They speak to us on a spiritual level. Many of them are paranormal, and we also can have extraordinary experiences in dreams where we are literally in another dimensional reality.
So it's almost like traveling from here to there, but as far as your consciousness is concerned, you're asleep.
That's right. I think that we have experiences during dreaming that are either impossible or more difficult for us to have during waking consciousness when we're engaged in the physical reality. Now, the ancients knew this. Ancient cultures had a great appreciation for dreams and the ability of dreams to enable human beings to access the realm of the gods. Plato called dreams the between state, literally a place where the human consciousness would go during sleep to have interaction with the dead and the gods. This tradition has been passed on down through the centuries and is part of our dream work today. Now, dreams have sort of come and gone out of fashion a number of times in Western culture over the centuries. They have been downplayed in Christianity. There have always been doubts about dreams in terms of do they speak the truth or not. Dreams have been considered to be imaginary, fanciful, dealing with sexual issues, but dreams regained importance in the Western culture in the late 1800s with the development of psychotherapy and the emerging discipline of psychology. And Sigmund Freud was the great pioneer there. He considered dreams to be the royal road to the unconscious. However, he looked at them as largely expressing repressed emotions and especially having to do with sexual issues. Now, his most important pupil was Carl Jung, and Jung took dreams to another level. He was truly a mystic. He understood the deep spiritual meaning of dreams, and he used a lot of his own dreaming experiences as a springboard for how he developed his psychology around dreams. Dreams to him were full of archetypes, which speak to human beings on a universal level. This gets back to what the ancients and Plato talked about in terms of the between state. And he developed this approach to dreams in a much different way from Freud, and that's really a major component of our dream work today. Dreams that deal with our waking life issues and also our spiritual issues, things that we deal with in our life journey and our concepts of ourselves as souls and in the big cosmic picture.
But I think the sense is here, do dreams present some other parallel reality? And how do you demonstrate that's the case?
Dreams are subjective. The only person who can truly interpret a dream is the dreamer himself. Other people can suggest meanings. Dream dictionaries are valuable starting points because they deal with a lot of common symbols that seem to have universal meanings to most people. But our dreams are about us in very unique ways. They mirror the context of our lives, our personal beliefs, which are shaped by our own experiences, our culture, our background, our religion, our family life. And so they're really unique to the individual. But there are common patterns in dreaming that have been documented throughout the ages, and they have to do with our encounters. These are big dreams where people say that they're not really certain that they're dreaming. They feel like they're having a real experience. And I think that this is the case, that there is something about dreaming consciousness that opens us up to another reality, another dimension, and we have a breakthrough experience. We have real meetings with the dead. We have encounters with aliens, with alien beings. We have encounters with spirit guides and teachers, angels, even demons. All of these things are possible in states of dreaming.
Now the question I think that raises, Rosemary, forgive me for interrupting you,
Sure.
is the reality of this. Are you actually physically going to this other reality or dimension or whatever, or are you briefly living someone else's life?
I believe that in many cases we are actually in another dimensional reality. Much the same way in an astral projection, going out of body, we have the capability of projecting into another dimension for a different kind of experience. All of this, of course, is very hard to document scientifically because dreams really can't be replicated in a laboratory. About the only thing science has been able to study concerning dreams are some statistical evidence about precognition in dreams and also telepathy in dreams. But the spiritual experience is something that really depends on interpretation. It is subjective interpretation, but the patterns are very common throughout history, that human beings have had certain kinds of dream experiences that seem to be other dimensional and are fairly consistent in characteristics over the centuries.
One thing that I've noticed recently is some articles looking at brain science and the fact that scientists are now studying dream subjects and mapping the patterning of synaptic activity in the brain. And from what I can gather, certain types of dreams tend to create certain synaptic pathways. And if this is true, then there may be some ability at some point to start mapping dreams and interpreting them in a hard scientific way in terms of how the brain actually functions. One thing I wanted to ask you, Rosemary, is how about reoccurring dreams and dreams that seem to have a progression? Like I have a series of dreamscapes that are pretty easy for me to identify now. They seem to have a very similar kind of feel in terms of the topography of the dreamscape.
And I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen, what you're going to hear now is not a dreamscape. If you have a comment or a question about the Paracast, why don't you send us a note, news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com, or give us a tweet at the Paracast on Twitter @the Paracast. You're listening to Gene and Chris with Rosemary Ellen Guiley. You're in
the Paracast.
America's #1 source for independent talk radio for over a decade. We are the GCN Radio Network.
When it comes to running a successful business, there are many things you have to get right. But one thing is often overlooked, and that's protecting the data that powers your business. Computers, servers, external hard drives, and even tape backups are vulnerable to failure. In the U.S. alone, over 140,000 hard drives fail each and every week. According to one study, only 7% of companies that lose their data centers for 10 days or more survive beyond the year. So I want to tell you about our friends at Mozy, the most trusted name in online backup. Give our friends at Mozy a call. They've been doing this for a long time and run the most secure, most trusted online backup service. Right now, you could save 15% by using the promo code PODCAST15. That's PODCAST15. Call 877-669-9776. That's 877-669-9776. Or visit mozypro.com. That's mozypro.com.
That's the sound of your door being kicked in by an intruder with a single kick. That's the sound of the same door now protected by the Door Sentinel at mysafedoor.com. Go to mysafedoor.com right now and watch the amazing video. At mysafedoor.com, you'll learn how to turn your home into a fortress with the Door Sentinel. 16 kicks later, and the Door Sentinel is still holding strong. mysafedoor.com. That's mysafedoor.com.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
Did you know nuclear radiation is still spewing out of the melted down reactors in Fukushima, Japan, and making its way across the entire U.S. continent, contaminating the air, water, and food? Dangerously high levels of radiation are a reality here. As a result, radiation poisoning is a distinct possibility for anyone living in the U.S. unless you do something to protect yourself. How? With Liquid Zeolite from RestoreYourHealthNow.com. Without a doubt, Liquid Zeolite is by far the best product to remove radiation from your body. It safely removes toxins and heavy metals, boosts energy levels, and promotes a strong immune system. Liquid Zeolite is so powerful it was used to clean up contamination in Chernobyl, yet so gentle you won't even know you're taking it. Liquid Zeolite comes with a money-back guarantee, but is only available at RestoreYourHealthNow.com. Learn how to get free bottles of Liquid Zeolite by calling 800-880-9976. That's 800-880-9976. Or go to RestoreYourHealthNow.com. That's RestoreYourHealthNow.com.
Long Range Patrol Ration Entrees. If you know survival, you know LRPs are the undisputed king of military rations. Hands down the best for your bug-out bag or survival pack. To go farther, faster, and carry more food, there's nothing better than a Brick Pack LRP cold weather ration entree. Nothing. Now, the Freeze Dry Guy is offering a limited time deal on thousands of fresh LRP entrees. We're talking a menu of tasty and nutritious beef stew, chicken and rice, chili mac with beef, spaghetti and meat sauce with 20 entrees per case. These fresh 2011 LRPs are U.S. government contract overruns, perfect for long-term storage. But they're going fast at freezedryguy.com. Far superior to MREs, long-range patrol entrees are about a third the weight of an MRE, with about a third more meat than the finest commercial freeze-dried entrees. Ask about multi-case discounts and free shipping when you call 866-404-3663 today. That's 866-404-3663 or freezedryguy.com. Your source for survival food in an uncertain world.
Hi, this is Don Ecker, and you are tuned into the Paracast. Let me tell you what, you're going to hear stuff here that you probably won't hear anywhere else. Hear that, George Snorri?
Wouldn't you know it, neighbors, every time Chris begins a long monologue about something with an extensive question, we end up having to do that break. On the Paracast with Gene and Chris, Rosemary Ellen Guiley. Chris, you want to pick up on that thread?
Well, yeah, in other words, the whole idea of a particular setting that a reoccurring dream occurs in, and not, what I'm trying to describe is not necessarily a reoccurring dream, but it's a reoccurring sort of place, which for many years I didn't experience this, but for the past 5 or 6 years, I've had 3 pretty identifiable kind of feels and looks to dreams, and they're all in color. Most of my dreams are not in color. What do we know about this? Is there any way to kind of, I don't know, sort of quantify this somehow?
Recurring dreams often have to do with things in life that aren't being resolved. And when they are resolved, the recurring dreams stop. Many of these are anxiety dreams. But sometimes we have big dreams where we do feel like we're in another extraordinary place. It might be an unearthly landscape or something very different. The dreams have a different feel to them, a different emotional tone. We might be lucid in the dreams. These might have a spiritual purpose to them. For example, some years ago, I went through a series of recurring dreams where I was always in the presence of a being that I described as an angel. That's how this being seemed to present itself to me. It could have been a spirit guide, a teacher. It did not seem to be a human being. And the setting of the dreams was always some sort of what I would call an unearthly landscape, because none of the topography looked like anything that I had ever seen on Earth, either in real life or in any photographs. And these were teaching dreams where I was getting telepathic instruction from this being, and it seemed to pertain to my work in this life and also just to the development, the unfolding of my life's path. these dreams recurred for quite a few months, and then they came to an end. And my interpretation of them was that I was getting some sort of spiritual education in this form, which had to take place during the dreaming state because I was outside of ordinary space and time. And when the instruction was complete, those dreams stopped. I think that first we have to look at symbolism related to waking life, because dreams do speak to us about ordinary life, and then we need to look at them from a spiritual perspective. So, Chris, if I were you, I would take those dreams and I would say, okay, what do they have to tell me about things going on in my life? And going on then to another level, how might they be addressing something on a larger scale from a paranormal or spiritual perspective?
You know, I understand it's kind of a conventional interpretation of reoccurring dreams, but these are different. They're like serialized. I almost pick up where I left off, and they're very positive. They, in a nutshell, basically, it's me teaching people how to fly. And the more this dream progresses over the months, you know, and I might have one of these dreams every couple of months or something. And this has been going on for a number of years. The dream seems to get more involved. There's more dramatic elements, but it's very positive in terms of what I'm doing and how I'm sharing this knowledge of how to fly with other people. Now, there is some sort of kind of nefarious element that's sort of lurking around in the background, but it doesn't seem very threatening at this point. It did initially, but it doesn't now. And this is really unusual for me because I normally don't have dreams of this kind, and a total color too, I should add, and completely lucid. I'm able to go wherever I want in the dream.
Well,
Obviously, it's very lucid, and I do have control, but only control within the particular, you know, sort of situational, the situation that's going on in the dream. It's not like I can only control myself within the dream parameters, let's say. I can't say, well, I think I'm going to go visit the Dalai Lama, boom, and then go there. If that's not part of what's going on, then it never seems to, you know, to enter my dream consciousness, to do something totally non sequitur and out of the blue. But within the context of the dream, I'm able to make choices. I'm able to weigh options and that sort of thing, which I normally am not able to do that. So is this a good thing, or do I need some help?
Absolutely. You're very fortunate, Chris. Lucid dreaming is considered to be a kind of a different frontier on dreaming. Some people lucid dream a lot, almost every night, and other people only have lucid dreams every now and then. And some people have the ability to sort of program lucid dreaming, like tell themselves before they go to sleep, I'd like to, be in control of my dreams tonight, and for others it's much harder. But the research that's been done on lucid dreams has associated this particular state of dreaming with healing, creativity, and kind of an evolutionary direction for human dreaming consciousness, so to speak. And being able to control the dream seems to have a lot of creative and healing energy to it. When you can direct the outcome, where you're going, and flying is a very common component of these dreams. It's associated, again, with creativity, with liberation, with being able to do extraordinary things. That is, maybe in these sorts of dreams, we're accessing a part of our potential that in waking consciousness we don't seem to access very often.
Let me ask you briefly here, Rosemary. Does this signify possibly a frustration with your ability to make things happen, that maybe you want to make a breakthrough in business and personal life and you're hitting a roadblock and maybe the dream is showing you a direction?
It's possible. You would have to look at it from a context situation, like what else is going on in waking life. Sometimes flying dreams relate to a desire to escape one's circumstances, and other times a flying dream can represent liberation, a new creative height. So a lot depends on what's going on in life, and also the emotions of the dreamer in the dream and upon awakening. whether or not there's anxiety associated with the dream or an exhilaration, for example.
Yeah, well, mine are definitely exhilarating, and they started out with me being able to fly, but slowly, kind of not really, almost like a propeller plane in World War I. Now I can zip almost instantaneously anywhere I want to go, and I'm showing other people how to do it, which I find particularly exhilarating, I must say.
One thing that you might try, Chris, since you're able to direct the course and the outcome of the dreams, is before you go to sleep at night, ask for these lucid dreams and also to be given information in the dreams as to their purpose. Where are these dreams leading?
Now, when you say ask for the lucid dream, and forgive me, I'm a neophyte on such subjects.
It's like programming yourself, Gene.
Yeah, how do you program yourself?
Give yourself instructions.
You can actually program yourself to have certain kinds of dreams, or to have your dreams give you specific information. This has been done since ancient times. And one of the easiest techniques is to do some meditation before you go to sleep with a specific question. Tonight I am going to dream the answer to this question, or tonight I would like a message pertaining to blank blank. And oftentimes the dreaming mind will respond, and the information may come couched in symbols that you have to interpret. The message may be very clear in the dream. Sometimes the dream itself doesn't answer the question, but the answer is very clear to you when you awaken.
So you basically have a lot of details that you have to hopefully struggle and succeed in recalling. I want to ask you about some personal issues about this in a moment. We could hear some stuff about me that you may not want to hear. Not that weird. You'll see what I'm talking about. Rosemary Ellen Guiley joining us. We're talking about dream interpretation with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Are you tired of searching for great talk radio?
Something more important.
Search no more. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Are you ready to order the official Paracast t-shirt? You asked, we answered. We're now taking orders for the official Paracast t-shirt. It comes in white, 100% cotton. The front of it features the same logo that we have on our community forums. On the back it says, separating signal from noise. To order the official Paracast t-shirt, here's all you have to do. Visit our new online store at store.theparacast.com. One more time, that's store.theparacast.com. You can use a major credit card to place your order for the official Paracast t-shirt. Hey neighbors, we have one more thing to talk about, and that's more merchandise at the official Paracast store. We have hats, we have jackets, we even have a flip video camcorder customized with the Paracast logo at the official Paracast store. It's all now available at the official Paracast store, store.theparacast.com.
That's what it sounds like when a burglar kicks in the door of a dark house that looks like no one is home. Don't let your home be the next target. Make it look like someone is home watching television with Fake TV. Fake TV is a small electronic device that makes the same light as a real television. So from outside, it looks like someone is home watching TV. Fake TV plugs in just like a lamp on a timer, but is far more convincing to burglars. Fake TV deters burglars, costs far less than an alarm, and is highly recommended by numerous police departments. Use it anytime you're away from home. To order your Fake TV for only $34.95, go to faketv.com. or call 1-877-5-FAKE-TV. Each additional Fake TV is only $29.95, so get one for you and one for a loved one for safety, security, and peace of mind for both of you. Call 877-5-FAKE-TV or go to faketv.com. faketv.com, the burglar deterrent.
If you're taking 1, 2, 5, or more nutritional supplements, please stop.
Simplify your supplementation with Bio Superfood, the most advanced nutritional whole food supplement you can buy. Men, women, children, even Olympic athletes the world over have discovered Bio Superfood from BioAge.com. And now take just one nutritional supplement instead of many. The Bio Superfood formulas are whole food products composed with 4 of the most nutrient-dense algae found on Earth. Bio Superfood for the brain helps with focus, memory, clarity, and mood. If you can increase brain health, the rest of the body is a no-brainer. Bio Superfood has 0 toxicity and is safe for you and your family. Learn more and order your Bio Superfood formulas at BioAge.com, spelled BIOAGE.com, BioAge.com, or call 877-288-9116. That's 877-288-9116. BioAge, the age of advanced organics.
Warning. The unprepared may not survive the next natural disaster, terrorist attack, pandemic, or economic collapse. In light of recent global unrest and natural disasters, we bring you this urgent message from David Morris, author of the acclaimed Urban Survival Course. Because this message is urgent, we won't waste time on the why you should act now. You already know why. It's the very real and growing dangers reported in the media every day. Now it's the what you must do. Go to freesurvivalminicourse.com and claim your free Urban Survival Mini Course that will prepare you right in your own home. Today, David Morris is offering you instant access to a 7-part Urban Survival Mini Course at freesurvivalminicourse.com. You should already be at your keyboard. Enough talk. Act now while you still have time and while it's still free. freesurvivalminicourse.com. freesurvivalminicourse.com. Or call 800-366-5138. 800-366-5138. You'll be glad you did.
Hello, this is John Burroughs, one of the witnesses to the Rendlesham UFO incident. You're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
So neighbors, if you have a comment or a question about the Paracast, you know where to send it. news@theparacast.com. Once again, that's news@theparacast.com. We promise to read each and every message, Chris and I, and we'll try to answer most of them. And by the way, if you do want to join our team, you have a background in sales, especially online sales, and broadcast experience as a salesperson is a must, do write us. news@theparacast.com. Once again, that's news@theparacast.com. I don't talk about myself very much on the show because I like to focus on what other people do. I'm Gene Steinberg with Chris O'Brien. We're talking to Rosemary Ellen Guiley. You've got a book out there about dream interpretation. And one thing I see, for example, is I tend to be wary of heights. So I tend to have dreams sometimes trying to drive on a road that goes up a mountain, which is not very pleasant. So is that just confirming what I already know about myself?
Our dreams always give us information that is helpful to us in new ways. You can consider them a mirror of truth, reflecting back to us our honest feelings, usually about how we think we're doing in life. Car dreams are very common, and they often represent the ego or the self. You know, it's like the vehicle you drive around life in. So cars that are new and shiny or old and dilapidated might say something about something going on in life or some attitudes we have, whether or not we get lost. We're on a crooked road, a straight road, going fast, going slow, in the driver's seat, the passenger seat. All of these things are very valuable symbols. So going up a mountain is like conquering something. The mountain is a symbol of spiritual heights, also intellectual heights. It can represent withdrawal from the world. It can represent the conquest, like climbing Mount Everest. So the dream might have a lot to say about a situation in life or a path in life.
All right, so for example, I'm trying to climb the mountain with my motor vehicle, whatever it might be. I'm trying to achieve something I haven't achieved yet.
And what kind of road are you on? Is it full of obstacles? Is it a dirt road, steep and difficult to drive, or are you kind of sailing along?
Well, it's kind of a road that's steep, such as the road that takes you to around a mountain. So if I'm traveling, for example, from Phoenix, Arizona to Flagstaff, and I drive around these mountains, which kind of irritates me, to be frank about it. It's that kind of...
Well, right by my house.
Right, just trying to drive by Chris's house would be more than sufficient.
In dream work, what we do is we look at every component of a dream and relate it back to the self. The fundamental of modern dream work is that everything in a dream represents something about you, even inanimate objects and landscape features. So the mountain says something about the self. The road says something about the self. And you do a lot of free association, and the intuition will tell you when you've made a hit. This is why the dreamer is the only person who can truly interpret a dream, but sometimes the suggestions of others will spark a new line of thinking. So if that were my dream about going up the mountain, first I would look at my emotions in the dream. Am I frustrated? Am I having a good time? What does the mountain represent to me? Does it represent a situation, a project, a problem, a relationship, or something bigger, like where am I headed in my life? Am I really going in the right direction? I want to go up. I want to reach the heights, but how am I getting there? I would look at the road and the obstacles in it. I would look at the vehicle itself and how I feel about the vehicle. And do I feel like I'm going somewhere, or in the dream, am I wondering where I'm going? And all of those threads of association will address the dream from different perspectives that help the dreamer sort out what the fundamental message is of the dream.
So in order to interpret your dream, you really got to do a little studying on what the things might mean.
It does require a little bit of work, but it's easy to do, it's easy to learn, and the more you do it, the easier it gets. And the dreaming consciousness will then begin to communicate even in more vivid ways. It's like once we start honoring the dream starts speaking back to us in bolder ways. So it's important to write dreams down because they're very easy to forget. And to keep a log and to spend some time at it. You don't need to spend, hours and hours every day, parsing through everything in a dream, but it's important to spend at least a little bit of time trying to figure out specifically what a dream is talking about. There are lots of techniques for analyzing the symbols to sort of unlock the energy of the dream, and once you start doing it a lot, then it becomes very easy. And a lot of times when you wake up, you pretty well know what the dream has had in store for you with a message.
Now, one thing about dreams is we have color dreams, we have black and white dreams. And at one time I read something where it said that women tend to dream in color more often than men. Is that true?
Yes, it is. Most people in general dream in color, but more women than men dream in color. And, Chris mentioned a while ago that these unusual dreams, the lucid dreams, were in color, whereas he usually dreams in black and white. So sometimes that's an indication from the dreaming mind to pay more attention because the dream is different in some way. For me, it's the reverse. I dream in color, but when I have an unusual dream, or what I call one of these big spiritual dreams, it's more often in black and white than in color.
So basically you're the reverse.
I am.
Okay.
But, I think this can vary with individuals. Our dreaming mind has many ways to get our attention and tell us when something is more important than what would be considered to be ordinary dreaming.
Chris, let's talk about your dreams a bit more.
Well, one dream that, if I had to pick the most amazing dream I've ever had, happened back in 1989. I dreamt I was in just like an idyllic sort of suburban environment, and all the sounds that I heard were doing these two particular notes, and car horns, doorbells, birds, children playing. All seemed to be based on this one note interval between two notes, and it was very, very hypnotic and magical. And I kind of got back into a sort of a waking state, a hypnagogic state, I think is the word. And I remember thinking, man, I wish I could record this. And I fell back asleep, and I kind of went into the same dream, but it didn't last very long. And when I woke up the next morning, I happened to look down at my, I keep a little notepad by my bedside, and I had written out complete recording instructions on how to record the soundtrack of my dream. So I called in sick to work and sat there half the day recording this piece, which I still have, and I hold it very dear to my my musical heart, because it's actually been used to help coma patients, and I've done some healing work with it, actually, inadvertently through other people's efforts. And so if I had to pick my my most memorable dream, it was the one where I actually wrote instructions on how to record the soundtrack to the dream. Believe it or not.
So you wrote a dream about a dream?
No, I recorded the soundtrack to the dream and did a 12-minute loop, and it was used by some health practitioners, a nurse, and some healers to help bring people out of coma. And I programmed positive affirmations. It's a beautiful world. I'm missing so much. My family misses me, and we would put these at a subliminal level in the recording. And then with the soundtrack of the dream, it actually was successful the first time we tried it. It wasn't my idea to try it and use it in this manner, but it was used like that, and it's been used several other times to varying degrees of success. But the first time it was used, a little 6-year-old girl was brought out of coma after 6 months being in coma. They were ready to pull the plug on her, and they had 24 hours to bring her out, or they were going to take life support off her, and she woke up, and so I was quite amazed at that, and it's a piece that I hold very dear to my musical repertoire of recordings.
Maybe something that you'd post on our forums.
It's simple. It's based on 2 notes, so. But I think it's the most elementary interval. I think it's found in all cultures. It's these notes. I think that particular interval is found in all cultures. It's like, Rover, come here. It's like mothers calling their kids, doorbells. I mean, you hear that particular interval. I think it's a fourth to a first, I think, is the interval.
The GCN Radio Network, providing the world with hard-hitting talk radio. GCN. Great talk radio starts here.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. If you own an Apple iPhone and love to listen to your favorite programs on GCN, I've got good news for you. I'm proud to announce that GCN has a brand new iPhone app available for our dedicated listeners at GCNlive.com. Listen to your favorite hard-hitting GCN programs live or on demand right on your iPhone. And the best part? The GCN iPhone app can be yours absolutely free. Download the iPhone app today by clicking on the banner at GCNlive.com. Again, that's GCNlive.com. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
We're talking about dreams in the Paracast with Gene and Chris, with our guest, Rosemary Ellen Guiley. Rosemary, tell us about the book that you wrote on the subject.
My newest book is called Rosemary Ellen Guiley's Pocket Dream Guide and Dictionary, and I wanted a simple introductory guide for people to get started in dream work with an accompanying dream dictionary as well. And there's more than 600 dream symbols in the dictionary part, and then the book also includes some tips for interpreting dreams, some steps that will help people unlock the associations and meanings behind the elements and symbols in dreams, and also some tips for improving dream recall. I've been doing dream work since I was a teenager, and actually my mother's precognitive dreams are what got me interested in dreaming. And
tell us more about your mom.
My mom had a lot of unusual paranormal experiences. She had visitations from angelic presences and also rather unpleasant bedroom invaders as well. We had fairy experiences in the house. She especially had a lot of precognitive dreaming, something that I have had occasionally, but never to the degree that my mother experienced them. And they were usually unpleasant dreams for her, dreams about people that she knew who were about to die. And the dreams were always accurate in terms of somebody dying. It usually wouldn't be in perhaps the manner that was portrayed in the dream, or she wouldn't have a sense of timing. But as you can imagine, getting information like this, usually within 2 weeks of somebody's passing, and knowing that, or at least feeling that there was nothing you could do about it, were very distressing to her. But they got me interested in learning about dreams, because when I was a teenager and hearing these dream accounts, the idea that you could dream the future and that it would be something that would come to pass absolutely fascinated me. So I wanted to learn more about dreams, and I began reading books about them and paying attention to my own dreams. I did experimentations where I would try and project myself to distant places in dreams and come back with descriptions that I could validate in some way, like visit somebody's house and describe something about what I saw there that I could validate with that person later. I tried to send messages to people in dreams with some success and get messages in dreams. So all of these things told me at a very young age that our dreams are magical, mystical experiences, far more than just reflecting back to us our concerns and anxieties, which the majority of dreams really do. They deal with our emotional issues. But there are other components to them that transcend everyday experience. So that's really what launched me on a lifelong pursuit of understanding my dreams. In my study of dreams, I got involved in the International Association for the Study of Dreams. I served on the board of that organization for a while, and I learned how to do what's called lay dream work facilitation. I'm not a clinical psychologist. Sometimes it is advisable to do dream work with a psychologist, especially if people are having troubling dreams, repeating nightmares, and things like that. The average person can do dream work quite easily and very productively. I have led dream work groups and seminars for quite a few years, helping other people understand their dreams. And in the process, it's been an enriching experience for me, because our dreams tell us about ourselves and enable us to often make better decisions, to bring a better balance into our lives, to heal things emotionally, even physically. Carl Jung documented that as well, that dreams have a tremendous healing capacity to them in terms of warning us about illnesses and diseases that are in very early stages, and even bringing miraculous healing energy into one's life. There are documented cases in the dream literature where people who are in serious illness, such as cancer, have healing dreams where they are literally healed in the dreams. And this is then documented on a physical level.
Well, talk about the documentation. How does that come about, and what are the results?
Well, for example, if someone had a tumor that needed to be operated on, and prior to having the operation, they would have a healing dream where they would feel completely whole again. And then they would be examined by the medical professionals and discover that the tumor might be greatly shrunk in size or might be completely gone without explanation. And,
are we saying then it's a case of mind over matter, that if we will ourselves to overcome our illness, sometimes it works?
We really don't understand the full ramifications and components of what happens during these dreams. The ancients considered the gods to intervene in the dreams, and that the gods would do the healing. The Greeks and the Romans had temples all over the classical world where people would make pilgrimages and pray to the gods to be healed in their dreams of their various afflictions. And many testimonials were left behind to that fact. But these dreams still happen in modern times, and it's difficult to separate out the components of these things. In my own mind, I'm sure there is some sort of a marshaling of one's inner forces, perhaps one's own ability to heal that's brought into bear in this. But there seems to be something external that happens as well, a connection with some sort of healing force or power in the cosmos that occurs during the dream state and seems to be more powerful when it happens in the dream state.
Chris, why'd you pick up on this? You're another dream guy?
I'm another dream guy. Actually, I wish I was a dream guy. I really enjoy some of these dreamscapes that I find myself in. My powers of recall aren't quite developed to the stage and place where I'd like them to be, but I have heard, over the years and reading about miraculous healings, as Rosemary was mentioning, the kind of a self-prescribed placebo effect where the power of the mind and the power of spirit actually can manifest in very positive ways. How about the opposite, though, Rosemary? I've also encountered stories where people have had series of reoccurring dreams and then actually suffered adverse health effects from not getting a handle on why these negative type dreams were occurring. So the reverse can also be true as well, I would imagine.
I'm not quite sure what you mean, Chris. You mean that we would become sick because of our dreams? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, become sick or also become, mentally unstable as a result of real nightmare type reoccurring nightmares where people's health fail, whether it's because they're afraid to go to sleep and it's a lack of sleep and there may be some sort of chemical adverse chemical imbalances in the body as a result of that. But I have encountered here and there stories about people that have actually died in their sleep after perhaps undergoing a series of fairly, nasty nightmares or a sequence of nasty nightmares. Which kind of harkens back to your comment that if you do have reoccurring negative dreams, it's probably good to go to a clinical psychologist and get some professional help in that regard. But I would just imagine if you can heal yourself in a dream, if you're unbalanced and not healthy emotionally or even physically, you could actually have the opposite effect on yourself.
Well, for example, people who have severe psychological trauma, post-traumatic stress syndrome, or deep-seated emotional issues, perhaps stemming back to childhood, maybe abuse situations.
I'll tell you what, we have to get into more of that in a moment. We have Rosemary Ellen Guiley with Gene and Chris. You're in
Paracast.
So here's what happened. I was placing an order online. The site went down. It just stopped responding. It took hours before it returned, but I'd already placed the order with another company. If your site goes down, you could lose business. And if you have a business or personal site, you'll want to know it's easy to run and it will stay online. At iWeb, your site is hosted on one of the most reliable networks in the world. Check it out. iWeb.com. That's iWeb.com. Fate magazine provides true reports of the strange and unknown. Keep up with the latest on angels and miracles, psychic phenomena, ghosts, UFOs, life after death, and much, much more. To receive your free issue of Fate magazine, call now at 1-800-728-2730 or visit their website at www.fatemag.com. That's 1-800-728-2730. What are you waiting for? Your fate awaits.
Hi, everybody. Jason Lewis here. Once again for my friends at Midas Resources. These are hard times for investors. You don't know which way to go. Is the market going to recover? Is the Washington spending machine going to continue? And that means a lot of debt and maybe printing money to cover the debt. They call it monetizing the debt, but that's a fancy way of saying inflation. And a lot of people are worried about that. So you need the ultimate inflation hedge, and that's gold. Now, let me be clear about this. Commodities fluctuate in price. They can go up and down. Very volatile. There's no guarantee. But if you want the ultimate inflation hedge, you need to talk to my friends at Midas Resources. The number, 1-800-686-2237. If you're interested in converting your IRA to gold or would like to have it in your possession, call Midas today at 1-800-686-2237. It's Midas Resources, 1-800-686-2237 for gold, and tell them Jason sent you.
The perfect water for drinking, bathing, and cleaning, right at your fingertips? Yes, you can now have the most powerful water ionizer on the market for less than half the price of competitors. The Genesis Platinum Water Ionizer from GibsonsHealth.com creates the perfect drinking water of 9.5 pH, automatically cleans every time you use it, and even tells you when to change filters. Other 7-plate water ionizers are priced at $2,000 or even $3,000. But the Genesis Platinum is only $16.95. Get yours today at GibsonsHealth.com. Under Nutritionals, be sure to click on Essential Oils for aromatic liquids extracted from a broad range of flowers, stems, seeds, and bark. And to really balance your body, click on Go Green, the most complete green drink available, necessary for survival. All this and more are found at GibsonsHealth.com. Call 800-388-6844. That's 800-388-6844 or GibsonsHealth.com. Healthful living since 1974.
Digestive health is the key to wellness and elimination of toxins. That bears repeating. Digestive health is the key to wellness and elimination of toxins. And Pro EM1 Daily Probiotic Cleanse is the key to digestive health. Pro EM1 is a powerful liquid probiotic, strong enough to cleanse, gentle enough to use every day. Pro EM1 is dairy, wheat, and soy-free, contains all natural and certified organic ingredients, contains no preservatives or animal products, supports a healthy digestive and immune system, supports weight loss, improves absorption of food nutrients, aids in controlling yeast infections, is never freeze-dried, and uses 3 groups of live, viable, beneficial microbes to cleanse and remove toxins. Order Pro EM1 Daily Probiotic Cleanse at Terraganics.com, spelled Terraganix.com, Terraganics.com. Or call toll-free 866-369-3678. That's 866-369-3678. Pro EM1, the raw probiotic.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And if you'd like to catch up on past episodes, we have hundreds of shows for you to download direct from theparacast.com. That's theparacast.com. Or check us out at iTunes.
Rosemary Ellen Guiley, joining Gene and Chris on the Paracast. Now, you started a discussion, I guess, again, about dream interpretation. Would you continue with that?
Well, we were talking about what about negative dreaming, where people might be very ill or their health could be adversely affected by nightmare situations. And yes, there are people who have very deep emotional trauma issues that experience a lot of very troubling dreams and nightmares, and those really do need to be dealt with by trained medical help. There may be some physiological things going on as well. In my work dealing with paranormal situations, I see some adverse paranormal dreams from time to time. That is, people feel that they are being adversely affected by a psychic attack or by some sort of invasive presence coming into their dreams and disturbing their sleep, creating unpleasant imagery. These sorts of dreams, from a paranormal perspective, from a spirit interference perspective, have also been documented since ancient times. And I do believe that this sort of thing can take place, that certain individuals who are skilled in psychic attack can invade one's dreams and cause unpleasant imagery that can have a deteriorating health effect on an individual, and that there are entities out there who can do the same thing.
Another subject, and you and I in our last few conversations have talked about your recent investigative work where you're starting to find that your work with the looking into the whole concept and subject of the jinn this jinn type interpretation may have some legs. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Because I know that this has been something that you've been really studying now for a while, and of course your last book was about the jinn. Why don't you describe to our audience, like you did to me, some of your thinking in this regard?
I think that the jinn are behind a lot of our paranormal experiences and phenomena, far more than we might realize. And that's one of the things that I discussed a lot in The Vengeful Jinn. I developed quite a few chapters in the book related to comparing the jinn to some of our other spirit and entity experiences and making the case for why the jinn might be using certain guises in a shape-shifted fashion as a way of interacting with and even interfering with human beings. Well, I've had an increasing number of reports and cases involving what I would call negative entity interference. And some of it just may be due to increased self-reporting, that is, people feeling freer to come forward and talk about things that in the past they would have been too embarrassed to talk about. However, I do think that these cases are truly on the rise, too, and they often involve disturbed dreaming and disturbed sleep. A lot of these entities who, and the jinn included, who want to interfere with people to cause problems, their point of attack is when we are most vulnerable, and that's when we sleep, and also when we dream. They can cause nightmares. They can create bedroom visitation situations where unpleasant shapes come into the bedroom and become part of people's dreams or cause people to awaken from unpleasant dreams. And sometimes people don't know if they're dreaming or awake. So some of these attacks in the past have been called hag attacks as well, the unpleasant presence in the bedroom. And if people are subjected to this sort of interference on an ongoing, frequent basis, they become afraid to sleep. They especially become afraid to dream. This can have a deteriorating effect on their health because they're not getting adequate rest. They're psychologically disturbed, and it starts spilling into other areas of life.
What process do you bring to bear on a case like this? How do you separate a person with some sort of possible emotional issues or post-traumatic stress, or where does one psychological causal element leave off and then something truly other in your interpretations begin? How do you make that determination?
It's often hard, Chris, I'll tell you. I do tell people that the first thing that they have to look at are ordinary causes. Because if they've got domestic issues going on or other emotional issues, they're going through a crisis or just kind of an upsetting period in life, dreaming can take on symbolism that may seem to be outside interference, but is actually just more what I would call ordinary dreaming. So you have to look for the natural, ordinary explanations first. Then there are other sort of hallmarks that indicate that perhaps there's spirit interference going on. There are certain characteristics to the dreams. If they're combined with bedroom visitations, poltergeist phenomena, one must look for a point of origin, too. And
now, the point I want to ask you, though, Rosemary, is at first you've got to see a physical side effect of this to make that determination?
What do you mean by a physical side effect?
Well, poltergeist phenomena. So a poltergeist, obviously things are moving around the house, the traditional image of the poltergeist. Does that come out of the dream experience?
It's part of a pattern of phenomena. It doesn't come out of the dream experience, but if people are having entity problems, invasive spirit presence problems, there are a host of other things that are usually happening as well. There's always a point of origin. That is, these things don't just start up for no reason. Sometimes people get a little carried away with the shows on TV and whatnot, and they start interpreting things going on in their own environment as spirit problems, when in fact it's not the case.
We have to basically be aware that what we see on television is fantasy. Somebody writes a fiction story. Even the so-called reality shows may be somewhat fictionalized.
They're heavily fictionalized in terms of how the evidence is portrayed. It's always, well, I don't want to say always, but in many cases it has to be sort of over-dramatized in order to carry across the medium of television and to be entertaining and engaging to the audience. So people can have kind of a skewed idea of what really goes on in the paranormal.
The endless search for ratings.
And for ratings, absolutely. But in real
TV
life problems... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say the TV that horrifies me the most usually is the political shows on Sunday morning, but we won't get into that, right, Gene?
That could be on our other show.
It's another paranormal horror, huh?
Very much a paranormal horror or some other kind of horror. But we're not talking about anything horrible here, although I guess some things about it could be frightening. We're talking about your dreams, and we'll have a lot more. And our guest is Rosemary Ellen Guiley. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
America's #1 source for independent talk radio for over a decade. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Ray Perkins, a reclusive veteran burned out from the Gulf War, lives tortured by relentless, perplexing nightmares. Nightmares of a horrific battle in deep space and of a mysterious woman suffering in agony for her devastated world. A woman not yet born, calling across centuries to him. Then, a coincidence leads him to his destiny, his chance to alter the universe. Attack of the Rockoids. The former fiction editor for Star Wars and Indiana Jones, Robert Simpson, writes, "The soul of the novel Attack of the Rockoids lies in its heart and passion for building a convincing tale of a love that spans the galaxy. A thrilling story. Attack of the Rockoids is available now. Read a sample chapter and get a special discount off of the cover price at our website, rockoids.com. That's ROCKOIDS.com. Attack of the Rockoids, a novel in the grand science fiction tradition.
We all know that Berkey Water Purification Systems are the most trusted name in water filtration. As an authorized Berkey dealer for over 6 years and serving thousands of satisfied customers, the Berkey Guy offers amazing specials for Berkey Water Filtration Systems. The Berkey Light Systems include a set of self-sterilizing and recleanable black purification elements that purify water by removing chlorine, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, and parasites to non-detectable levels and remove harmful chemicals such as herbicides and pesticides. Order the Berkey Light System today, complete with 2 black Berkey elements for only $231, and the Berkey Guy will ship your order free of charge. With the purchase of a Berkey Light, the Berkey Guy is also offering a set of fluoride and arsenic filters for only $39.99. That's over 30% off the retail price. Call the Berkey Guy at 1-877-886-3653. That's 1-877-886-3653. Or order online at GoBerkey.com. That's GoBerkey.com today.
What happened, man? You used to be energetic, happy, and wow, did the ladies love you. Now you fall asleep on the couch, irritable, and out of shape. Don't be that guy. Call now for a risk-free trial of Ageless Male, a natural supplement shown to raise testosterone by 50% and maintain healthy, normal levels. No injections, no appointments. With healthy testosterone levels, you can feel that energy again, that great outlook again, and yes, even a healthy sex drive. Right now, you can try Ageless Male risk-free. There's nothing to lose, guys. If you're a man who's noticed changes in your body, your mood, your sex life, call now for a risk-free trial of Ageless Male. Be the guy you used to be. Just call 1-888-246-0623. Don't wait another day. Just call 1-888-246-0623. Again, 1-888-246-0623.
Introducing a diabetes breakthrough, an easy, natural, organic way to bring relief to diabetics. Introducing MDS Forte, a concentrated super-strength extract formulated for those who are looking for relief. What can MDS Forte do for you? MDS Forte reduces glucose levels safely and effectively, reduces cholesterol and triglyceride levels, increases HDL or good cholesterol while reducing LDL or bad cholesterol. MDS Forte reduces A1C, improves eyesight and circulation to the limbs, and helps with weight loss. Is non-toxic, caffeine-free, 100% natural, 100% organic, and comes with a 100% money-back guarantee. Waiting for the side effects disclaimers? With MDS Forte, there are none. Order a 25-day treatment of MDS Forte by calling 213-405-5355, 213-405-5355, or visit bestbloodsupport.com. That's bestbloodsupport.com for MDS Forte, a diabetes breakthrough.
Hi, this is nuclear physicist lecturer Stanton Friedman. You are listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
Folks, Chris is not dreaming. I just want to assure you of that. This is reality, I think, with Rosemary Ellen Guiley, with Gene and Chris on the Paracast. Rosemary, I wanted to ask you something else here. Now, one possible set of events that are sometimes connected with dreams are so-called UFO abductions. Do you regard them as real dream experiences, a combination of the two? What?
I regard them as alternate reality experiences. I think that they do take place, the abduction does take place, the visitation takes place, but it's not necessarily a physical reality thing. And this is why they often happen during sleep. They might be recalled in a dream. They might not be recalled till someone goes through regression and, hypnotic regression. The experience starts in the physical reality and it shifts into an alternate reality. Some of the hallmarks of these cases, and these apply to entity visitations, to jinn visitations, when people feel that they've got a demonic presence in the room, when shadow people come, there are things like buzzing and ringing sounds. They feel sometimes that electrical pulses are going through their body, or they feel electrified in some way. These are symptomatic of what seems to be a dimensional shift going on. The entities have the ability to transcend our physical laws anyway. They come through the walls, they materialize in space, they dematerialize in space. In terms of the abductions, people feel that they are transported out through non-ordinary means, usually through floating or levitation. So immediately we begin to shift into alternate reality, which blurs into the dreamscape, because these things are possible in the dreamscape. I don't think that they're imaginary experiences. I think that they're real experiences, and but they take place in this alternate reality that sort of blends into our dreaming consciousness.
Okay, as a follow-up to that, in some cases of UFO abductions, people report being operated on, and sometimes they find little objects and things embedded in their feet or elsewhere. Is that just maybe an accident? They stepped into something? Is that necessarily connected with this event? Is the event triggered by some kind of thing or event in our own physical reality?
With any dream, you always have to look at whether or not it has a connection to something going on in waking life and could be symbolic. There are lots of ET dreams, including seeing lights in the sky or being visited by alien beings or beings that you think are extraterrestrials, that are more symbolic. They're speaking on a symbolic level rather than a literal level.
Is this like Carl Jung talking about the collective unconscious and the possible connection with UFOs?
I'm sorry, what was the question? The question was...
Okay, Carl Jung had this book about UFOs in the 1950s.
Yes.
And part of the suggestion here related to possible collective unconscious manifestations. So are some UFOs indications of a collective unconscious?
I think they are. they are dream symbols rather than literal things in dreams. The symbols that dominate human dreaming change over time as our culture changes and the orientation of our thinking changes. We are oriented toward the unknown of outer space, where our ancestors were not oriented that way. Our ancestors were oriented to the physical world, to monsters in the world, to the horrors of the grave, and a lot of our fears about the unknown and the unexplored are symbolized by outer space and beings that might come from outer space. So in that respect, yes, UFOs and ETs can be highly symbolic. But,
okay, I wanted to ask you then, there's an implication here that the actual physical sightings may in some respects be dream-related in some ways.
I'm not sure I understand.
Okay, that basically we're not seeing ET up there. We're seeing a projection, a mind projection, something that is not a real aircraft physically up there.
Gene, I'm not sure what you're asking me. I mean,
Okay, well, all right, let me try another way here. Okay, we see a UFO in the sky, and you're talking all about, of course...
I'm not sure what
you're talking about symbolisms and things here, okay?
Okay, let's start over again.
Okay, we start with symbolism. We start with UFOs in the sky. Are we seeing physical craft up there, or are we seeing something that represents that symbolism?
You mean in waking consciousness?
Sure, or what we think is waking consciousness. Maybe we took a nap, I don't know.
I think that things can bleed through dimensions, but as you know, where's the physical evidence? We never seem to have any physical evidence, some vague reports of physical evidence that always seems to disappear somewhere. So these experiences are, I think, largely interdimensional bleed-throughs. I don't think that we're having illusions when we have the experiences, but they're not entirely of this dimension. And the same applies to our encounters with mysterious creatures. We don't have any carcasses, bones, physical evidence that can be validated and proved, but we have all of these subjective eyewitness accounts. And to me, they're indicative of the existence of parallel dimensions close to ours and the openings that occur if you're in the right place at the right time or you're in one of these hot zone portal areas. And we have the bleed-through experiences. They are real. I don't think they're imaginary.
Okay, so then how do we quantify that? Can we? Can we quantify the ability to sometimes see something that is, as they say, spilling through? We're getting a visualization of something happening in another reality, another time, whatever.
It's very hard to quantify because it can't be summoned up on demand. We don't seem to have the ability to open up these interdimensional windows and doors on demand to have replicable experiences. However, when you take the literature of experiences and do cross comparisons, there are patterns that emerge, that people describe some of the same things or in similar ways. The elements of the experiences, the circumstances of the experiences have some common characteristics. So there do seem to be core experiences that human beings have, but the details, the trappings, shift over time. A person can have a remarkable experience in a known hot zone area and can return to that hot zone and never have that experience again. Or if they have an experience, it won't be the same. So this becomes very problematic, of course, for science to take any of this seriously. It's considered to be so subjective that it can't be given serious consideration.
Doesn't make it very easy to get a handle on this because obviously scientists will say, well, if I can't see it, if I can't touch it, if I can't measure it somehow, even if they're measuring, for example, the possible presence of planets and other star systems that you really can't directly see, but you see the interaction of them. Well, if we can't do that, it can't be possibly real.
Well, that's certainly the approach that science would take. But the people who have the experiences do not feel that they've imagined anything. And I don't think they have either, because the experiences have been too consistent over the course of human history. We have these, as I mentioned before, these core experiences, these interactions with these elements and entities that are not of our physical world, but intrude on our physical world. And it indicates that we've been having some sort of interaction, which we explain through our mythology and our folklore, that there are other beings and entities that have an interest in us and who are dealing with us.
I'll tell you what, we have to deal with this. If you have a comment or question about the show, write us news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. We are talking to Rosemary Ellen Guiley with Gene and Chris. That means you're in the Paracast.
Are you tired of searching for great talk radio?
Something more important.
Search no more. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Graphic Converter is the image manipulation tool for the rest of us. It does not use any database. You get full control of all your files. Want to view the images of a folder? Drag it into Graphic Converter, and a powerful browser opens up to show your image files. You could use it for slideshows. You could use it to import images from digital cameras or from scanners. Need to do some image editing? You can do that too in Graphic Converter. Also print catalogs. Convert from so many formats I can't even list them. Download now to see if Graphic Converter is good for you, like 1.5 million other users. Guess what? You could save money when you buy Graphic Converter. Use the coupon code Night Owl. Use the coupon code Night Owl to get a special price for Graphic Converter. Go to lemkesoft.com. That's LEMKE soft.com. lemkesoft.com. LEMKE soft.com.
Smokers, are you still smoking traditional cigarettes? Are you still smelling up your clothes and car interior, staining your teeth, and getting ashes everywhere? Why? When you could be smoking or vaping with e-cigarettes by LeSig. With LeSig e-cigarettes' revolutionary microelectronic technology, rechargeable battery, and unique replacement cartridges, you'll get all the satisfaction of smoking, but no smoking hazards. Choose from a wide variety of our new American-made Vaporite e-liquid flavors at LeSig.com, spelled LECIG.com, or call 870-518-4307. That's 870-518-4307. LeSig e-cigarettes for today's modern smoker. Warning, e-cigs may contain nicotine, an addictive substance known to the state of California to cause birth defects or cancer. Please be aware of the risks associated with e-cigs prior to use. You must be 18 years or older to purchase.
Folks, have you lost your power and wanted to simply flip a switch to get the lights back on? If so, this is going to be the most important message you'll ever hear, because there's never been a better time to get ready for the winter power outages ahead. Here's why. Solar-powered generators are now available from our friends at Solutions from Science, one of our oldest sponsors. Their emergency backup systems provide life-saving electrical power when you need it most. Unlike gas generators, a solar generator runs quietly, emits no fumes, and produces electricity from the sun. It's like having an electric power plant running quietly in your own home. Whether it's ice storms, brownouts, or blackouts, you'll never have to suffer through painful power outages again. When the power goes out this winter, you'll be ready with a solar-powered generator from Solutions from Science. Go to mysolarbackup.com for more information. That's mysolarbackup.com or call 877-327-0365.
Warning, the unprepared may not survive the next natural disaster, terrorist attack, pandemic, or economic collapse. In light of recent global unrest and natural disasters, we bring you this urgent message from David Morris, author of the acclaimed Urban Survival Course. Because this message is urgent, we won't waste time on the why you should act now. You already know why. It's the very real and growing dangers reported in the media every day. Now it's the what you must do. Go to freesurvivalminicourse.com and claim your free Urban Survival Mini Course that will prepare you right in your own home. Today, David Morris is offering you instant access to a 7-part urban survival mini course at freesurvivalminicourse.com. You should already be at your keyboard. Enough talk. Act now while you still have time and while it's still free. freesurvivalminicourse.com. freesurvivalminicourse.com. Or call 800-366-5138. 800-366-5138. You'll be glad you did.
Hi, this is Ted Phillips, listening to the Paracast, and it's as good as it gets, believe me.
With Gene and Chris, you're in the Paracast with Rosemary Ellen Guiley, starting off with dream experiences, relating that to what might be perceived as physical phenomena, UFOs, things like that, possible UFO abductions. Chris, we had a few questions in the forums. Maybe let's get to those now.
Since we're on this subject of your dream research, Rosemary, we do have a couple of interesting questions here from our listeners. This one comes from a new listener from Germany named Polterwurst. I'm not sure if he's related to the Geist or the Brat, but he says, in your dream research, did you come across dreams in which deceased people announced their rebirth in a soon-to-be-born child? If so, did you follow up on that to see if the child showed up and had any signs reminiscent of that deceased person a few years later? He goes on to say, I used to think dreams were just senseless brain chatter, but after recent observations which seem to indicate a case of reincarnation, which do include such a dream, I'm not that sure anymore. Does this ring a bell? It doesn't to me. I don't think I've ever heard one of a person predicting their own reincarnation.
In fact, it does happen, Chris. These are called announcing dreams, and they're well documented in the reincarnation literature. And I do talk about them in another book I've written called Soul Journeys, which deals with reincarnation. They're more prominent in other cultures. There are Native Americans, for example, in the Northwest and West Coast, Canada and the United States, where it's considered customary for souls to announce their rebirth. And in fact, families expect to have dreams where so-and-so who died some years ago is now going to be reborn. And that person, the deceased person, will come in the dream and announce himself or herself to a couple who the wife is pregnant and going to be giving birth. And Ian Stevenson documented a lot of these in his extensive reincarnation literature. I'm not aware of what might be documented in what you would call the contemporary Western culture literature, because we just don't pay that much attention to reincarnation as other cultures do. There have been some studies of Western children who seem to have marked past life recall when they're young, and usually the strongest memories are between ages of 3 and 8. The children will make comments like, when I was the mommy, or when I lived in such and such a place, or when you were my daughter, that sort of thing. But we don't seem to have the phenomenon of announcing dreams. I think they have to be nurtured by culture to be prominent.
Yeah, I know in the Tibetan culture, the reincarnation of particular lineages, I now do seem to recall that these have been announced. And the famous one they made a movie out of, where the Rinpoche said he was going to be born on such and such a day, and they actually located the child in Seattle, Washington, if I remember correctly. Interesting. I think that's an area that I'd like to look into more. I have another question from Sandan Fire, who's one of our longtime posters since 2009. And he says, in all your vast research conducted through the years, do you see the paranormal in general, regardless of the phenomenon such as UFOs or ghosts, as having more of a specific cause, such as the jinn or some other supernatural entity? He says, I ask because my wife, who considers herself as sensitive, believes that the ghosts and spirits her and I generally hunt may be something more generalized that actually could indeed explain all paranormal events. And as a direct result of my wife's changing paradigm, I've started looking more into the UFO field for some clues as to what we experience in ghost and haunting fields. With your latest book regarding the jinn, you seem to be swaying more towards a theory of everything, TOE, as he says, in which the sourcing for most of what we could call unexplained may be whittled down to a singular cause. Any thoughts? You kind of were just barely addressing that, but now we're going to put you on the spot.
I am increasingly thinking that the jinn are behind just about everything. And this is probably not a satisfactory explanation to a lot of people in the paranormal who want to compartmentalize things, and even to ufologists who are looking for extraterrestrials. And I don't deny the existence of extraterrestrials or that some other planetary beings have visited the planet. Our planet. However, I think that a lot of our ET experiences, what we're calling ET, they're really ultra-terrestrials. They're beings from another dimension, not another planet. More likely than not, the jinn could be behind them. The jinn, who are masterful shapeshifters, have a reason to interact with people and might be coming in a variety of ways to have different purposes, different agendas. They're as varied as human beings. They have different temperaments, just like human beings. But in general, there is documentation in their mythology and folklore that the jinn have a reason for wanting to interact with us. That is, they want the earth back because they consider it theirs to begin with. In the beginning, there were angels and jinn. Human beings came along. The jinn were out. Humans were in. And some of them want the place back. And so we have all of these different forms that, from the standpoint of their origins, their motivations, their characteristics, they could be doing all of those things. So I'm increasingly looking at the jinn as the cause behind just about all of our paranormal experiences. Having done a lot of ghost hunting over the years, hundreds and hundreds of places and cases, I consider most ghost phenomena to be residual. That is, it doesn't really have a locus of intelligence to it. It's leftover stuff that clings to the psychic space. And when you start getting into more active presences, where a place seems to have an entity or entities that recognize human beings and interact with them in very deliberate ways, you're not dealing with ghosts anymore. You're dealing with something else, and that's probably the jinn.
Well, there you have it, Sand and Fire. Inquiring minds just got a good answer. I've noticed commonalities too, Rosemary, especially when there seems to be some sort of self-determined energy at work. The jinn, I think, is a pretty good place to start to try to get to the bottom of it. Of course, there is that tricksterish element. I said the word, Gene. There is that tricksterish element that's involved in a lot of these entity cases. So I think the jury's going to be out in some people's mind, but you and I are thinking kind of along the same lines there, Rosemary. Here's another one for you from Dying Son, who's a longtime poster. In fact, he's been posting now almost exactly 4 years. He says, if the conversation comes to it, is there a way to classify a small hooded being? For reference, the creatures in Star Wars called Jawas come to mind. That's interesting. I've had a couple of cases like that people see diminutive hooded forms. Is that something fairly common, and how would you classify them?
It is. We have the little black hooded things with the red eyes that often accompany other kinds of entities. They usually come in multiples. They're of 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 or 5. They are often bedroom invaders. The black-eyed kids would be a variation of that. Demonic-looking children who want to gain somebody's trust and access to an environment and then reveal themselves with saw demonic teeth, and they have these alien-like solid black eyes or demonic eyes. And the Jawa, to me, they're jinn. I think they were inspired by the jinn, and these little hooded entities could be forms of jinn as well.
little baby jinn they've got bad attitudes and tend to hang out in like little gangs, like trooping fairies.
You said the word, Chris. You said the word trickster, and
I did.
Behind a lot of this.
I said it again.
The T word.
The T word. I had an interesting.
Shapeshift in anything.
Well, let me tell you, I had an interesting case. A world famous, very, very well respected studio musician from the golden age of television, with over 600 films and TV shows to his credit. Umpteenth degree in black belt, very spiritual guy. He's in his studio recording one day, and he was very embarrassed when he told me this. But he says, "I just knew you would. I had to tell you."
If you have a comment or question about the show, write us news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. I'll tell you what, we'll find out more about the studio musician and lots more with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
The GCN Radio Network, providing the world with hard-hitting talk radio. GCN. Great talk radio starts here.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. If you'd like to listen to GCN programs on the go, I have great news. GCN has created a Droid and iPhone application, and it's free. Just as easy as going to GCNlive.com, click on the banner, and download. Before you know it, you'll be listening to your favorite hard-hitting GCN shows, live or on demand, right on your Droid or iPhone, 24/7 and on the go. So download the Droid and iPhone app free by clicking on the banner at GCNlive.com. Thanks again for listening to GCNlive.com. Again, that's GCNlive.com. We the people grow cotton, weave fabric, engrave ink, embed strips and fibers to protect from counterfeit and carting to a private bank, having it led back at interest, forcing taxes to service debt. This capitalism, or was Jefferson correct when stating a central bank issuing the public currency is a greater menace to the liberties of the people than a standing army? Ted Anderson, I'm placing a free silver dollar in a book that explains our monetary system. Call for your copy, 800-686-2237. It's time to understand the system. Call 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
So who might be that studio musician, longtime professional studio musician that Chris O'Brien's talking about with Gene and Chris on the Paracast? Would you identify the person?
Well, he asked me not to, but let's see. How would I do this artfully? There's a famous B movie that features vegetables and them attacking. He was the one that did the film score for that, so there's a little clue for y'all. Anyway, he was sitting there in his studio recording, and he noticed motion out of the corner of his eye. He looked over, and a group of 6 or 7, if I remember, small, hooded, cloaked, trooping fairies, for lack of a better term, came through his studio door that was closed, trooped right across the studio within inches of him, and went through the wall. And before the last one went through the wall, it turned around and gave him a really dirty, nasty look. And he said the weirdest thing about it is they all looked like they were dressed in Keystone Cop hats. Now, go figure.
I've heard of this experience, and I can't think of the musician's name, but it's ringing a bell with me. And, here again we have this trickster element to it. Well, the jinn have, if you're going to compare the jinn to other entities in terms of, like, what are the dominant characteristics that they share and are the same, the jinn have the closest connection with fairies. And this association really has been recognized for a very long time, especially in the Middle East, where most of the lore of the jinn originates. And the behavior of fairies mirrors the characteristics of the jinn and vice versa. In the Vengeful Jinn, the strongest chapter of associations, I documented in some detail, show how the jinn and the fairies are the same. Well, let's take that out a step further. Jacques Vallée, Thomas Bullard, John Mack, talking decades ago about the similarities between ETs and fairies. This gets down to a very fundamental problem in the paranormal. People do not research cross-discipline lore and mythology. Ufologists stick to ufology, the paranormal people stick to the paranormal, the cryptids people stick to cryptozoology, and there's all this data that bleeds from one area to another that takes things into a whole different arena. And I think it's so important to be aware of these things. Shadow people. When I started researching shadow people about 5 or 6 years ago, I found a big connection between the ET experiencers and the shadow people experiencers. But when I went into the UFO community to ask the researchers what they knew about shadow people, I found that either they didn't know anything, or yes, it did show up a lot, the shadow person experience, but it wasn't important. It didn't have anything to do with abductions. And it does. It does, because many abductees are shadow people experiencers, and shadow people seem to be another form of the jinn. So there are all these cross-connections going on, and we don't have enough researchers really following up on them from that big picture perspective.
And I think it's really important that we start looking at these things cross-platform, if you will, and really start taking the blinders off and being a little bit more creative and open-minded with our thinking. I think it's really important, and you bring up a really good point there. One thing that I've noticed is we seem to have a lot of programs that are coming out that deal with various aspects of the paranormal, both in a reality sense and in a fictional sense. And we do have a question here from a longtime poster, Blowfish. And he says, Rosemary, what are your thoughts on the current vampire TV movies such as True Blood, Twilight, etc., and any so-called real encounters from eyewitnesses? Is there some sort of cultural connection there? Or
great entertainment, very little connection to what are the dominant documented real experiences. Twilight is so far out there in fantasy that it's hard to take any of those vampires seriously. They're, from my perspective, very anemic vampires compared to the entities that our ancestors were talking about. True Blood is also heavily fictionalized in terms of what real vampires are and even what shapeshifters are. And, we have these vampires organized into societies and walking around in human bodies that are flesh and blood, but having all these superpowers. Well, our ancestors, when they talked about vampires, talked about something really entirely different. They talked about a horror that came out of the grave.
Nosferatu.
More like Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Which might be seen in some sort of spectral or semi-physical form, but more often than not was a presence that sexually attacked people, created poltergeist disturbances, hag attacks, drained people's energy and health, caused illness, bad luck, misfortune.
Right, and they can't enter your house unless you invite them too, supposedly, right?
Well,
so if you think someone's a vampire, don't offer them coffee. Don't have them come in your house, there, listeners.
Don't let them come in your house. That's the important thing. They try to gain admission. Can I use your telephone? Don't do it.
So the film and fiction today is an entirely different vampire than the ones that our ancestors talked about. Our ancestors probably wouldn't even recognize these creations as vampires. But they fulfill a romantic fantasy for people. And I think it's a way that we also come to terms with things. The vampire is a very potent symbol of the wrong survival of death.
Well, and they're very sexual, too. There's that whole Anne Rice kind of sexuality, I think, that's been interjected into the whole vampire thing since her books, Interview with the Vampire and Lestat and all those books, which I devoured, by the way. I normally don't read that sort of thing, but she's such a good writer that I found those books very, very, very entertaining. But you do have that sort of, I think, residual effect from her books now we're seeing in some of these shows, which I avoid like the plague. I've never seen even 30 seconds of one of these shows, but they're really popular with the kids. Do you think that's healthy?
Well, probably yes and no. It's I think teenagers have their ways of coming to terms with social issues, romantic issues, self-esteem, and things like that. And the vampire is the current role model, the alienated youth, the outsider, the forbidden love, the Romeo and the Juliet, the whole ball of wax. And that seems to be the motif now that's popular in fiction for young adults. These are themes that are always popular with young adults, and the symbols just change. But you mentioned the sexual aspect of vampires, and actually that's one thing that a lot of people don't know, is that the real vampire that our ancestors dealt with was highly sexual, but not in any sort of romantic way. And this sort of ties into very old beliefs about the dead, that the dead are hungry for the physical pleasures that they no longer have access to because they don't have a body. And so if they manage to get back into the world of the living, what are they going to go for first? Well, first there's sex, then there's food and alcohol and tobacco and some of the other physical pleasures, but sex is number one.
But of course, vampires don't always eat other than, the blood, or true blood, as it were.
Well, they do have their own blood substitute, yes, in true blood. But the accounts from our ancestors talk about very unpleasant sex with vampires. It was more like a rape. It was very draining, not something that anybody wanted. So we've sort of gone in totally the opposite direction.
We romanticize it now, certainly in the Twilight movies. The big thing is to make it with a vampire, and certainly that happens in True Blood, and it gets to be pretty wild and wacky. But I like the theme song. I like the theme song of True Blood, if nothing else. No, I like the show. It's a lot of fun. Rosemary Ellen Guiley joining us. We're talking about dreams, vampires, and a whole lot more. Also the gin. With Gene and Chris, you're in the Paracast.
Are you ready to order the official Paracast t-shirt? You asked, we answered. We're now taking orders for the official Paracast t-shirt. It comes in white, 100% cotton. The front of it features the same logo that we have on our community forums. On the back it says, separating signal from noise. To order the official Paracast t-shirt, here's all you have to do. Visit our new online store at store.theparacast.com. One more time, that's store.theparacast.com. You can use a major credit card to place your order for the official Paracast t-shirt. Hey neighbors, we have one more thing to talk about, and that's more merchandise at the official Paracast store. We have hats, we have jackets, we even have a flip video camcorder customized with the Paracast logo at the official Paracast store. It's all now available at the official Paracast store, store.theparacast.com.
Hi, this is Peter Cronschnabel from Midas Resources. As you know, the federal government spending is at an all-time high, and inflation will be a direct result of the spending policy. European government and central bank spending policies have put the European Union on the brink of collapse. What are you doing right now to protect yourself financially? Are your assets working for you or against you? One thing is certain. Having physical possession of gold and silver will guarantee that no matter what happens to our economy or the dollar, your investment will never be worthless. And it will protect you from that hidden tax, inflation. If you've been thinking about investing in physical possession of precious metals or having an IRA in precious metals, I can help. Call me today, Peter Cronschnabel, at 800-686-2237, extension 108. And I'll take the time to personally put together a portfolio designed to protect what you've worked so hard for. Call 800-686-2237, extension 108. You've worked hard your whole life, and I want to work hard for you. Call Peter at 800-686-2237, extension 108.
Long-range patrol ration entrees. If you know survival, you know LRPs are the undisputed king of military rations. Hands down the best for your bug-out bag or survival pack. To go farther, faster, and carry more food, there's nothing better than a Brick Pack LRP cold weather ration entree. Nothing. Now, the Freeze Dry Guy is offering a limited-time deal on thousands of fresh LRP entrees. We're talking a menu of tasty and nutritious beef stew, chicken and rice, chili mac with beef, spaghetti and meat sauce with 20 entrees per case. These fresh 2011 LRPs are U.S. government contract overruns, perfect for long-term storage. But they're going fast at freezedryguy.com. Far superior to MREs, long-range patrol entrees are about a third the weight of an MRE, with about a third more meat than the finest commercial freeze-dried entrees. Ask about multi-case discounts and free shipping when you call 866-404-3663 today. That's 866-404-3663 or freezedryguy.com. Your source for survival food in an uncertain world.
Digestive health is the key to wellness and elimination of toxins. That bears repeating. Digestive health is the key to wellness and elimination of toxins. And Pro EM1 Daily Probiotic Cleanse is the key to digestive health. Pro EM1 is a powerful liquid probiotic, strong enough to cleanse, gentle enough to use every day. Pro EM1 is dairy, wheat, and soy free, contains all natural and certified organic ingredients, contains no preservatives or animal products, supports a healthy digestive and immune system, supports weight loss, improves absorption of food nutrients, aids in controlling yeast infections, is never freeze-dried, and uses 3 groups of live, viable, beneficial microbes to cleanse and remove toxins. Order Pro EM1 Daily Probiotic Cleanse at Teraganix.com, spelled Teraganix.com, Teraganix.com. Or call toll-free 866-369-3678. That's 866-369-3678. Pro EM1, the raw probiotic.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And if you'd like to catch up on past episodes, we have hundreds of shows for you to download direct from theparacast.com. That's theparacast.com. Or check us out at iTunes.
We're back. Rosemary Ellen Guiley answering your questions from the Paracast forums at forum.theparacast.com with Gene and Chris. Chris, are we out of questions? Do we have any more?
We actually do have some more questions, a couple more from Blowfish. What are your thoughts on fairies in historical folklore in Celtic mythology? This is from Blowfish. He asks, is there any sort of relation to classic novels such as The Hobbit to folklore and you know, these types of fairy myths? In other words, could there possibly be some sort of residual I don't know, collective unconscious memory of a time when maybe we coexisted here with out in plain sight with fairies and gnomes and elves and trolls and kelpies and mermaids and, you know, all these various types of preternatural forms. What are you thinking on that? What's your thinking?
These are all possibly and probably residents of other dimensional realities that in earlier times our ancestors may have had more access to for a variety of reasons. You know, in the isolated rural life, the primitiveness, so to speak, of the landscape may have facilitated our interactions with these beings. I consider them to be very real. And some of the dominant themes about fairies, especially in Celtic lore, are that they were the original inhabitants of this planet. Another parallel with the jinn. The jinn were the original inhabitants here, too. When human beings came along, they lost out. They lost out in their interactions. They got pushed further and further back, so to speak, retreating into the hills, into subterranean areas, and finally into their own interdimensional reality, the fairyland, invisible to human beings.
Magonia.
Whether or not they had superpowers to begin with or acquired them as they changed is another matter. But they, like the jinn, have the ability to be invisible and to be in our world, apparently at their choosing, and for understandable reasons, harboring a lot of ill will against human beings. Our ancestors, even a couple of centuries ago, regarded the fairies with a lot of serious respect. They were formidable beings. You didn't want to cross them. Ideally, you didn't even want to interact with them too much because they were very temperamental and unpredictable and just as likely to do something mean to you as to be nice to you. So I do consider them to be very real entities. And they're still present around us today.
Yeah, so leave out the cookies and milk. Like for Santa Claus, you're supposed to do that for the fairies too. And if they're really happy with you, they'll come and clean your house.
And like all beings, I think, we tend to take a cookie-cutter approach to denizens of the paranormal realities, that all entities, all demons are this way, all angels are that way, all fairies are this way. And that's not the case. They're as varied as human beings. They have different temperaments. There are fairies who are very benevolent, who have a more kindly attitude toward human beings, and who are willing to have some sort of cooperative relationship with human beings, which we see played out in intentional communities like Findhorn and Perelandra, Green Hope Farm, where people are working with these residents of the natural world, the nature spirits and the fairies, to do this experimental agriculture, flower essences, and bringing a spiritual vibration into plant life for the purpose of benefit to human beings.
I had a girlfriend back in the 90s who spent a couple of years at Findhorn, and it's amazing. I mean, she's, you heard of people with a green thumb. She's got a green arm. All she has to do is look at a plant, and it grows abnormally fast, super robust. It'll push, out of the pot. It's just amazing. Her house is just filled with all these wonderful plants, and she always has kind of hinted around that she felt that she really gained this ability with plants from the time she spent at Findhorn. It's interesting that you should bring that up. Well, here's another question, and I'm sure you've gotten this one quite a few times before, and you and I had a pretty strange experience last spring in the San Luis Valley, but here's the question. Finally, this is from Blowfish again. What is the most strangest encounter while researching your material, and have you experienced anything yourself? So in other words, what's the weirdest thing that's happened to you, Ro?
Oh, wow. So many weird experiences. Shadow people, the shadow people form of jinn, I would say. Since I got heavily involved in shadow people research, this started around the end of 2004 for me. And now the jinn were something that crossed my radar back in the late 1980s, but I didn't get deeply involved in jinn research until about the time that I started doing the shadow people research, because I started looking at the two of them as one and the same. And these entities are unpredictable, they're formidable, they're creepy. It's taken me into some very weird landscapes where I've seen quite a number of shape-shifted entity forms and weird animals in these dark, towering figures that can materialize and dematerialize, and they communicate by intent rather than in any more overt way. And it's often hard to protect yourself against these entities. Probably the weirdest single experience I had was a gin location that I have been investigating now for almost 3 years, and I'm bringing it to a close because the principals are moving off the scene. But on one particular night where I was there with 2 other investigators for an all-night investigation, we had very strange poltergeist phenomena going on. It was an old farmhouse built in 1808, and sounds upstairs, our equipment kept going off. All of our cameras would go off at the same time. I was doing EVP in one of the rooms in the farmhouse, and I had a spontaneous superficial cut on my arm that I can't explain because I was sitting in the middle of the room with nothing around me. But it was a very small superficial cut like you would get with a box cutter. There was a shadow person that appeared in the house that all of us could see, and was quite menacing and throwing off a lot of very intense negative energy. We had these little things I call the gray scurrying things, little gray scurrying things. They look like, I would say, they look like cats with too many legs with no heads, and they run around. They like to hug the walls around the baseboards and run up and down stairs. We had those going all over the place.
It sounds busy, but this is going to make us busy, too. You're listening to Gene and Chris. You're in the Paracast.
America's #1 source for independent talk radio for over a decade. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Graphic Converter is the image manipulation tool for the rest of us. It does not use any database. You get full control of all your files. Want to view the images of a folder? Drag it into Graphic Converter, and a powerful browser opens up to show your image files. You could use it for slideshows. You could use it to import images from digital cameras or from scanners. Need to do some image editing? You can do that too in Graphic Converter. Also print catalogs. Convert from so many formats I can't even list them. Download now to see if Graphic Converter is good for you, like 1.5 million other users. Guess what? You could save money when you buy Graphic Converter. Use the coupon code Night Owl. Use the coupon code Night Owl to get a special price for Graphic Converter. Go to lemkesoft.com. That's LEMKEsoft.com. Lemkesoft.com. LEMKEsoft.com.
That's what it sounds like when a burglar kicks in the door of a dark house that looks like no one is home. Don't let your home be the next target. Make it look like someone is home watching television with Fake TV. Fake TV is a small electronic device that makes the same light as a real television, so from outside it looks like someone is home watching TV. Fake TV plugs in just like a lamp on a timer, but is far more convincing to burglars. Fake TV deters burglars, costs far less than an alarm, and is highly recommended by numerous police departments. Use it anytime you're away from home. To order your Fake TV for only $34.95, go to faketv.com. or call 1-877-5-FAKE-TV. Each additional Fake TV is only $29.95, so get one for you and one for a loved one for safety, security, and peace of mind for both of you. Call 877-5-FAKE-TV or go to faketv.com. faketv.com, the burglar deterrent.
If you're taking 1, 2, 5, or more nutritional supplements, please stop. Simplify your supplementation with Bio Superfood, the most advanced nutritional whole food supplement you can buy. Men, women, children, even Olympic athletes the world over have discovered Bio Superfood from BioAge.com. And now take just one nutritional supplement instead of many. The Bio Superfood formulas are whole food products composed with 4 of the most nutrient-dense algae found on Earth. Bio Superfood for the brain helps with focus, memory, clarity, and mood. If you can increase brain health, the rest of the body is a no-brainer. Bio Superfood has 0 toxicity and is safe for you and your family. Learn more and order your Bio Superfood formulas at BioAge.com, spelled BIOAGE.com, BioAge.com, or call 877-288-9116. That's 877-288-9116. BioAge, the age of advanced organics.
If you owe money to the IRS, you can't make the problem go away by yourself. But with the help of Dan Pilla, you can get your problem solved once and for all.
Hi, I'm Dan Pilla. For 30 years, I've helped thousands of people solve their tax debt problem, and I can help you solve yours too. We take a very simple but proven 3-step approach to solving your problem. First, we stabilize IRS collection actions so you don't have to worry about the IRS seizing your bank account or paycheck. Next, we build a comprehensive plan to get your tax debt reduced to the fullest extent possible, sometimes even completely eliminated. And finally, we work with you every step of the way to get your problem solved once and for all. Call us for a free consultation. Call 1-800-346-6829. We'll work together to get your problem solved, guaranteed.
Dan Pilla has been protecting taxpayers from the IRS for 3 decades, and he can help you too. Call us today at 800-346-6829. That's 800-34-NO-TAX.
Hi, my name is Richard Dolan. You're listening to the Paracast.
So neighbors, if you have a comment or a question about the Paracast, you know where to send it. news@theparacast.com. Once again, that's news@theparacast.com. We promise to read each and every message, Chris and I, and we'll try to answer most of them. And by the way, if you do want to join our team, you have a background in sales, especially online sales, and broadcast experience as a salesperson is a must, do write us. news@theparacast.com. Once again, that's news@theparacast.com. That's the Vengeful Chris on the Paracast with Gene Steinberg and Chris O'Brien and Rosemary Ellen Guiley. You're talking about all these strange entities. Can you continue, Rosemary?
Well, it culminated, the phenomena, it sort of came to a head, as is usually the case. You know, the energy builds up and then it just kind of, it explodes in something, and then it usually goes quiet. That's a very predictable pattern in these cases. But at any rate, the principal of the property, who was not there, who often would be in the all-night investigations with us. Nobody lived in the farmhouse. It was used as sort of a management place for the farm. But at any rate, he asked me to call him by midnight to let him know that we were all right. No cell phone service in this area, so our cell phones were useless. We had one landline. Very predictably, in a Hollywood fashion, the landline goes dead. I go to call him, can't get a call out. And it wasn't like it was totally dead. I could dial the number, and then as soon as I hit about 4 digits into the number, it would just start beeping, and the call would not go through. Didn't matter what number I called. And so we couldn't get out by the landline. And we had one door in and out of this place that suddenly would not open. And if I hadn't been there myself, it's one of those hard things to believe. It seems so Hollywood. How can a door get stuck that you can't get open? But it was like this door was deadbolted all up and down the inside of it. And the 2 investigators I was with, who were both big guys, all 3 of us, tugging on this door, could not get it open. It would not come open. It was like, I just had the feeling of like, you know, you're in this movie where the entity is saying, get out, and then you can't get out because the doors are locked. It was that crazy. And then suddenly, after a lot of tugging and pulling, the door just sprang open, like there was no problem at all whatsoever. I know it was not humidity because we'd been there.
Jeez, how bizarre.
For, along, many months in many environmental conditions, and had never had a problem with the door even remotely sticking. And so we decided that maybe it would be a good time to call it a night. And so we packed up our equipment. This was about 1:30 in the morning at this point, and as we were going out to our vehicles to load up, you could sense and see this almost like a gamut of dark, shadowy things in the trees watching us go. It's like, don't let the door hit you on the way out. And it was creepy. It was totally creepy. This was a chicken farm. We had murdered chickens in very mysterious ways. There were mutilated cats on the property, speeding balls of light on the hill, predator-like forms that would ripple around in the air and the trees, mysterious lights in the sky, landed craft, Bigfoot, werewolf creatures, demonic cats. That was my strangest case.
Oh, my God. And where was this? Was this a Pennsylvania case? Or?
It's right on the border between Pennsylvania and West Virginia.
Oh, my. That is a hotbed of activity right down there. That would definitely be one to definitely make you sit up and take notice. So 3 years you were investigating that case. What did you ever get any real good visual evidence, any good recordings, photographs, any sort of did you do any any sort of forensic testing on the dead animals? Were you able to determine, sort of, at least get a sense of what was behind some of the actual physical manifestations?
A lot of frustrations, just like the Skinwalker Ranch in Utah. They would put up all this equipment and then never get anything, or the equipment would be messed around with or broken. We had a lot of things like that. There's one good photograph out of that case showing a very strange form in a window. The case with the mutilated chickens, that happened one night when I was there with just one other investigator. And the chickens, the farm manager said that the chickens, they were all laid out very neatly in a row. And they were not mangled like one would expect with a fox or a predator. They were behind an electrified fence. And he could not figure out what it was that had killed the chickens. Sometimes chickens will die on their own. But these chickens had been... They hadn't just dropped dead. They had been killed, but not mangled, and then they had just been laid out behind this electrified fence in a neat little row inside their pen. Well, for several weeks, predator traps were set out and poison bait as well to see if it was some marauding, fox or something like that, and nothing was ever caught. So that was, an unknown.
What is your sense? I mean, you've named off a whole litany of types of phenomena. What do you think? It's like a portal area? Do you think it's some sort of doorway? What are your conclusions? I mean, what do you think is operative there?
My assessment is that it is in a portal area. The surrounding area has a very long history of paranormal activity going back generations. So it's been documented in the local lore and anecdotal experience. And the dominant characteristics of the case really fit a very good jinn profile. That is, there seemed to be a dominant entity on the property who considered it his place or its place and did not like human beings coming on the scene and creating disturbances. Now, one thing I've noticed in some of these jinn cases is the entity seems to get very upset when human beings start doing things to trees. Now, some of them seem to be very fond of trees or certain trees. And one of the things going on at the farm, besides the chicken farming, the farm had been dormant for a couple of decades and then got reactivated, and that's what seems to have started up all this activity. Sits on abandoned mine tunnels. That's another hallmark of intense spirit activity. But there were a lot of woods where they were doing herbicidal culling of the trees, and that seemed to get it very upset, this kind of slow murder of the trees through herbicides. Now, it did communicate. We have some communications on Frank's box kinds of devices, and we did do some seance work where a person acted as a medium to get information. And it communicated that, and this is what I have seen in other cases that seem to be jinn cases as well, that it had been here a very long time. It was far older than us and had been on this piece of property for a long time, and it considered it its property, and human beings were unwelcome. And if the human beings did not leave, he would make everybody miserable until they left.
And I'll tell you what, we're going to be very miserable if we don't break here. We have Rosemary Ellen Guiley, and we're talking about some really odd creatures and such. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast. Are you tired of searching for great talk radio?
Something more important.
Search no more. We are the GCN Radio Network.
You expect professional service from your doctor, your accountant, and even the girl who takes your morning coffee order. Why not from your domain registrar, too? Namecheap.com provides stellar service with no sneaky upselling. We offer more features and security options for your website than there are ways to order a latte. And new domains come with a WhoIsGuard to protect your personal info. At Namecheap.com, you can get your domain for as low as $2.99. Now is a great time to get to know Namecheap.com.
For 58 years, Fate has provided true reports of the strange and unknown. Fate brings you the latest in all aspects of the paranormal, like angels and miracles, psychic phenomena, ghosts, UFOs, and much, much more. To receive your complimentary Fate magazine, call now at 1-800-728-2730 or visit their website at www.fatemag.com. That's 1-800-728-2730. What are you waiting for? Your fate awaits.
Hi, I'm Mark Craighead, founder of Crossbreed Holsters. I designed our top-selling holster, the Super Tuck Deluxe, to solve the problems of being poked, pinched, and gouged while carrying concealed. The Super Tuck Deluxe is the most comfortable, most concealable holster on the market today. We offer a 2-week free trial and a lifetime warranty.
Visit us at crossbreedholsters.com. Don't forget, crossbreedholsters.com. In a coming-apart world, you need something to keep it tied together. That something is Atwood Rope, the highest quality rope made in the USA, from exotic braids for military, rescue, arborists, shipyards, tow line, or boating. Quality rope at affordable prices you and your customers can depend on. Find a dealer or shop online at atwoodrope.net. Enter promo code RADIO to receive 100 feet of 550 paracord free with purchase. Atwood Rope, working to keep the world tied together.
Folks, have you lost your power and wanted to simply flip a switch to get the lights back on? If so, this is going to be the most important message you'll ever hear, because there's never been a better time to get ready for the winter power outages ahead. Here's why. Solar-powered generators are now available from our friends at Solutions from Science, one of our oldest sponsors. Their emergency backup systems provide life-saving electrical power when you need it most. Unlike gas generators, a solar generator runs quietly, emits no fumes, and produces electricity from the sun. It's like having an electric power plant running quietly in your own home. Whether it's ice storms, brownouts, or blackouts, you'll never have to suffer through painful power outages again. When the power goes out this winter, you'll be ready with a solar-powered generator from Solutions from Science. Go to mysolarbackup.com for more information. That's mysolarbackup.com or call 877-327-0365.
If you constantly feel run down and tired, your pH level might be low, and your body could be full of toxins. If what you drink is not at a pH level of 8 or higher, you are inviting bacteria and acid to thrive in your body. But there is something you can do. Simply add 10 drops of AlkaVision Plasma pH drops to your water to help your body rid itself of acidic waste, increase oxygen, and raise your pH balance to optimum levels. AlkaVision Plasma pH drops combine a unique formula of the most alkaline minerals in the world, alkalizing the water you drink, ridding your body of acidic waste and toxins, and helping you regain energy and vibrant health. And studies show viruses, bacteria, and toxins cannot survive in an alkaline, high pH environment. Order your bottle of AlkaVision Plasma pH drops at alkavision.com. That's ALKA vision.com. Or call 269-409-1776. 269-409-1776. Alkalize your body. Supercharge your health at alkavision.com today.
This is Hilly Rose, and I hope that you do listen to the Paracast, because you will learn a great deal about the paranormal.
Rosemary Ellen Guiley joins us, longtime paranormal investigator, author of loads and loads and loads, did I say loads of books, with Gene and Chris on the Paracast. Okay, the skeptical viewpoint would say, how do you validate this communication is actually from this alleged creature and not something they kind of made up on the spot?
That's the skeptical question that could be put to all mediumistic communication, and that's one of the things that frustrated psychical researchers. With the founding of psychical research, which evolved into parapsychology, starting from as an organized discipline in the late 1800s, where scientists attempted to prove mediumistic communications, and no really verifiable proof was ever obtained. There was always an argument that could be posed as to where the information comes from, that you're interpreting things to suit your subconscious wishes or your own prevailing theories, or even more so, the argument of super psi. And I've never really been a fan of super psi, but it's technically hard to refute. Super psi holds that information exists everywhere, and we do not know the bounds of consciousness, the unbounded consciousness. And so technically, a medium might unwittingly access any information anywhere that could be unknowingly or sort of unconsciously reconstructed in a way as to seem to come from the dead or spirits or whatever. But the information is out there, sort of like in, a big cosmic database. Well, super psi has been a big stumbling block to proving any sort of mediumistic communications because it can't be disproved. You can't prove super psi, but you can't disprove it either. And it's the same with mediumistic communications. You can't really prove them, but you can't disprove them. So you're left in this sort of uncomfortable twilight zone with piles of anecdotal evidence in support of something. And that's where a lot of the paranormal has to fall back into evidence in support of, rather than scientific proof.
Well, is there a way to bridge this gap, Rosemary?
Right now, we don't seem to have it. And I can only hope that at some point there's a development in science or technology that will enable us to have that closure between experience and science.
I'd love to get a djinn and capture him and get him in a Faraday cage and quiz him, have my way with him, interview him. Man, I would love that.
Plenty of people say that they can capture jinn. Getting them to communicate is another matter. But, we're still back in this, this blurry anecdotal area as well. Now, there do seem to be patterns to the communications in these cases that I would say are jinn cases. They're not demonic. They're not other kinds of entities. They're jinn. And the entity that's causing the problem acts in pattern sorts of ways that are similar case to case, place to place. And that's one of the things that I've been documenting in the past several years are what are these patterns of behaviors and communications. But here again, you're quite right, Jean. It's still a long way off from proof. But I think when we can build these patterns of behavior and characteristics, it bolsters the case for a valid experience or a valid reality. Scientists may remain unconvinced, but human beings have these experiences, and if they're not real, why are we having the experiences?
Is it a question here very much on some way to validate this? How do we validate reports of this experience?
The only way we can validate these experiences are through the eyewitnesses and the experiencers. And investigators, like myself, we have our own experiences in the course of investigations. But the eyewitnesses are the ones who come to us with reports of their accounts. And it's often hard to evaluate eyewitnesses in terms of their credibility. Do they have issues going on? Are they highly imaginative? Where does imagination leave off and real experience start? Or are they so blended together that it becomes difficult to separate them out?
And even to understand, I guess, if it is a real experience, whether this is a real experience or something, they're fantasizing.
Well, sometimes it seems they are. I've had many cases where People have contacted me, and it seems to me that my gut feeling is that they're projecting onto the environment. They've got other issues going on. For example, people who have domestic and family problems, if one of them has any sort of paranormal bent at all, is what I will call like a psychic lightning rod, just seems to stir phenomena up. And then you put some sort of intense emotional issues into that environment, things may happen that may seem to be paranormal, but really are projections from, human psychokinetic energy more than anything else. And they can be interpreted in certain ways. And this happens a lot to people who get calls on demonic cases, where families say they think they have a demonic spirit present. And it's likely that they don't. They've got other things that are creating disturbances. But then on the other hand, you also have negative entities who like to take advantage of those kinds of environments.
But that's the kind of thing where you might have to feel that you're going to need to perform some kind of exorcism.
Sometimes exorcisms don't really help. People seem to think that we have eminent domain, and that we can make anything go away, and that's not always the case. Anyone who's ever been involved in exorcisms or looked into infestations and intense, negatively haunted places knows that sometimes you just don't get the stuff to go away. And there do seem to be entities who have what I call land rights. They are very territorial. They seem to be able to have a toehold in the physical reality and the land itself on our side of things. And they're just as determined to be here as we are. And sometimes we can dampen the energy down, but we can't make things completely go away.
I'll tell you what, we're going to have to go away in a couple of minutes. Where is your research going to take you from here?
I'm continuing my jinn research and portal area research. I have a new book coming out next year on multidimensional portals. That's not the title of the book. The book is called The Thinning Veil, but it is about multidimensional portals, the presence of jinn, and their relationship, especially to shadow people, ETs, and paranormal activity.
Wow. You're covering all bases.
Well, everything's interconnected, Gene, and I think that the jinn have not been factored into explanations and considerations in the past. They just haven't been on our radar, and I want to see them put on the radar. I think that they are a powerful factor going on, and because they are virtually unknown to most people in the West, I think that they've been able to make incredible inroads into the psychic landscape and right under our noses, and we don't even know it.
I'll tell you what, we have to know this. Where can we find more information about it?
www.visionaryliving.com is my main website, and Jinn Universe, DJINN Universe.com is my other website.
Chris O'Brien, where do we find more of your stuff?
You can always find me here at the Paracast, forum.theparacast.com. I'm a moderator. We're redoing my website, Our Strange Planet, as we speak. And, of course, we'll be bringing that San Luis Valley camera feed to the Paracast very shortly here in the new year.
Rosemary Ellen Guiley, thank you so much for joining us this week on the Paracast.
Thank you very much for a lively show. It's a pleasure to be on with you, Gene and Chris, and I look forward to seeing you again.
The Paracast, featuring Gene Steinberg and Christopher O'Brien, is a copyrighted presentation of Making the Impossible, Incorporated. Tune in next week for a new adventure in The Paracast.